This year's Landskrona Foto Festival theme, the architecture of memory, reflects on topics related to supporting mechanisms, structural mechanisms in the construction of the collective memory. How historical events are recorded, catalogued, and remembered, questioning the hierarchy of dominant narratives. The dynamics between the private and the public archive in shaping recollections of memories, and the role of traditional institutions like the museum or the official archives in making histories. The theme is divided in 5 chapters, which are exhibited in clusters across the city, creating a direct dialogue with the space and the locations. For the chapter Fluid Identities, 5 artists' works are exhibited in the Arthall, a modernist gallery in the heart of the city center. These artists, Kai Chung, the Retrieval, Restoration and Predicament, Yim Sui Fong, in The Man Who Attends to the Times, Anaïs López in The Migrant, Silvia Rosi Encounter, and Shi Yin, One Day We Will Understand, are works that embark on an exploration of identity in a post-colonial landscape. The exhibition Fluid Identities explore the frailty and vulnerability of the human condition in the context of history, how geopolitical events affects the role and position of our characters in the stories. The works exhibited cover a time frame from the beginning of the 20th century and colonial times, throughout the Second World War, independence, the post-colonial landscape, all the way to present times and even looking into the future. Artists in Fluid Identities exhibition embark on a journey of discovery, researching family personal stories, which then are intertwined with their own experience. Then they expand and extend this research into a wider context, a context which is embedded into the timeline of history, showing different transformations which are affected by historical events. The Retrieval, Restoration and Predicament by Kai Chung follow the fate of 11 statues from Hong Kong throughout historical events in the 20th century. Initially erected in Hong Kong by the British, are then taken during the Second World War to Japan to be melted and to help with the war effort. After the war, the British authorities are alerted that 4 statues still remained, and then are transported back into Hong Kong. Currently, one of the statues, Queen Victoria, is placed at Victoria Park in the heart of Hong Kong, where protesters and gatherings for commemorations like June the 4th massacre take place. Chung embarks in research through war and national archives and uses different voices to create a 3-video channel installation to contextualize the work. His work is realized in bronze sculptures showing reproduced details or fragments from the Queen Victoria statue. After failing to get official permission to photograph the actual statue in the square. These pieces resembled the real fragments of the statue. Kai Chung's work reflects about the identity of Hong Kong from British colonial times throughout Japanese occupation during World War II and 1997 hangover of Hong Kong to China until current times. Yim Sui Fong's work, The Man Who Attends to the Times, is a project that takes two parts. On the first part, and here we can see, on the first part of the project, she researches and traces the history of her father, who was a caretaker in a government building in Hong Kong. She engages in interviews with former employees, engages archival materials, and pastes together different types of documentations to create this historical document. On the second part of the project, she embarks on a journey of documenting the changing and transformation landscape of Hong Kong. She creates a journey that replicates her father's journey to and from work, and she traces those steps, capturing with her camera and encountering looking for patterns and looking for same people that maybe she has seen the day before. This project takes a twist in 2019 when, due to the protest and tear gas and adding the fact that she was pregnant and it was unsafe for her to walk the streets, she used live stream to capture images of the same path and the same journey, giving us a completely different visual landscape of the previous year in 2018. The work is realized in a book form, one unique book per year from 2018 until 2046, the length of years, equating the length of years her father's working life. The work is intended as an installation, like a monument to memory, in which Sui Fong undertakes the role of timekeeper, trying to record the transformation of times. And that way, witnessing in real time the making of history. Silvia Rosi's Encounter is a series of self-portraits and film in which the artist undertakes the role of her father and mother. She reenacts anecdotes narrated to her by her mother of her earlier life in Togo. But she also acts moments from the early arrival of her parents to Italy, a country they migrated to. Rosi is a story of migration, understanding one's heritage and its impact in one's self-identity. Her work creates her own interpretation of the family photo album, emphasized by the use of photo studio settings and backdrops, making a reference to West African photo studio tradition. Rosi's work mixes photography and films and is carefully orchestrated, in an ethnography intended as an installation project. Shi Yin project, One Day We Will Understand, travels back in time through history, tracing back into her grandfather's story, a story that had stopped being narrated and being discussed in her family. Her grandfather, a Malaysian freedom fighter, caught at the time of the British colonial rule, was forced into exile to China, a country that he had never visited. His ancestors had left a long time before. In China, he is caught into the fight between nationalists and Maoists. And with the winning of the Maoists, he becomes an instant hero. Finally, a monument is erected in her ancestral village. Shi Yin explores the fate of history and how her grandfather is transformed from villain terrorist into a commemorated hero by the fate of history. Shi Yin's work uses research, documentary photography, film, and performance reading in order to narrate the story. And all these elements come together in a symphony as an installation. The Migrant is a project by Anaïs López, in which she narrates the story of the Javant myna bird in Singapore. The beginning of the story is an accidental encounter of López with the bird on a trip to Singapore. Disturbed by the loud noise, she embarks on a journey of research and understanding the context and the meaning of this bird. She engages research in which she encounters factual newspaper stories, archival materials, and she even engages comic graphic design in order to insert and narrate her own role into the story. The story results on a fictional lineal narrative dotted with factual research and facts from the early colonial period all the way to current present times in Singapore. López's multidisciplinary work engages the different tools of photography, film, platforms like interactive web documentary, handmade bookmaking, screen printing, comic and illustrations in order to create and narrate this work. The works exhibited use research and factual information as a starting point, then engage into mixed media to allow for a greater creative freedom and visual interpretation. They reflect on the idea of history and its different interpretations, depending on one's standpoint, moment in history, or ideology, questioning the idea of a unique and one collective perception.